Your thoughts create your reality. This is probably the most popular New Age axiom going. There's been an entire law of attraction industry built around this. Heck, even Oprah's on board. And while many people have recited affirmations ad infinitum and attempted to manifest themselves half to death, they have often little to show for it. In essence, the New Age idea does work for a handful of people, but leaves the vast majority empty-handed. Which is kind of ironic because, as we discussed in the first video, humans have a lot of potential, roughly 3.5 trillion volts of it to be exact. We are born as powerful creator beings, ideally able to ask for what we desire and receive it without any complications. So why isn't this the case? And is there a missing piece that needs to be addressed first to get our missing creator being potential online? Turns out there is, and that's exactly what we're going to be covering in this video. Hi, my name is David Kahn, and you're watching the Mechanics of Reality series on the Octave Leap channel. This is episode 3, where we're going to dive into what is reality, how it's formed from a scientific perspective. So this episode is a follow-up episode to number 2 that covered how to think properly in order to ascertain truth. If you haven't watched that yet, that's totally okay. This is a standalone episode, but it will make a lot more sense if you do go back and watch that one after this. So this episode is going to focus on how to create a worldview that supports the blossoming of your highest expression. A positive worldview that is based in reality, not la-la land or a pessimistic stance that causes your energy to collapse into sullen hopelessness. When this happens, you become invincible to the things around you as the world around you starts to get better and better each day, no matter how bleak things might look externally. Trungpa Rinpoche once said, "It is our personal responsibility to ensure that the world does not collapse." What he meant by this was to hold the keys to humanity's future lies with each one of us, not with Trump, Elon Musk, the World Economic Forum, or China. You hold it, and so do I. So let's dive into both the neurology and the esotericism that agree on how we can actually craft this worldview. So neurologists have determined that in every instant, we're bombarded by approximately 2 billion points of data. But the brain can only handle 2,000 bits of data. So what does this mean? Are we not seeing the whole picture of what's unfolding around us? Nope. Indeed, we're not. Not even close. We are only seeing 0.001% of reality in a given moment, and 99.999% of reality is going completely unnoticed. So, to try and say that something is always a certain way is a very naive statement indeed, especially when you consider that most people only have a range of 40,000 data points or so. In that 2 billion of things that's happening, our range of what we can perceive is only 40,000. And of that 40,000, we're only getting 2,000 at a time. So the 2,000 data points that we can perceive in an instant are actually a subset of a very narrow range. While there is a limitation on the data points that we can see at a particular time, and I'm going to call these attention points. So these attention points, there's 2,000 of them. Maybe it's a little bit higher, give or take. But basically, we can't do much about this. We can, however, improve upon the range that we can perceive from 40,000 to much, much more. This is the scientific notation of being closed-minded versus being open-minded. What is the range of attention points that you can cover in your own perception? I'll give you an example here. Let's take the stereotypical North American tourist that goes over to Europe, Europe being a cultural capital, North America being in its infancy of culture and its maturity of consumerism. So the North American tourist goes over to Europe, and then they come back and they say, yeah, I went to Amsterdam, and I went to Paris, and I went to Berlin and Milan, and at each place I stayed at the Holiday Inn. I found a Denny's. They're all kind of the same. All these European cities, they're just exactly like America. That would be a very stereotypical way of looking at it. And, I think Europeans have often told me that they've encountered these type of individuals that basically come to visit and they recreate the same reality that they grew up in. That's because they haven't done much to actually widen their range of what they can perceive. So they tend to choose the things that are familiar. This is staying in the comfort zone. So when we get stuck in certain cycles or negative patterns, it's because our brains are recreating the same experiences over and over due to the fact that we have a limited range for our attention points. So what is the solution here? Well, the solution is actually to expand our range. I'm going to give you an example. When I was in my mid-20s, I would love to have done a series like this, but I didn't believe it was possible to make videos on YouTube and support myself financially. So instead, I went out and got a corporate job. But the corporate job had an income ceiling, and it also demanded that my best hours were spent working for somebody else. But then over time, I began to meet other people, and I saw other inspiring YouTubers who clearly were supporting themselves doing what they loved. One day, I woke up with the realization that I could probably do this too. I had an example based on these people that I was looking up to. And all of a sudden, I started to notice that there were more opportunities to do this around me in my life. And that actually, there's a lot more going that supports this reframe perspective than the contrary. Not too long after that, I quit my job, I hopped on a plane to Bali, and I began exploring how I could make this lifestyle work. Within 1 year, I'd replaced my corporate engineering income by working online, creating heartfelt content, and coaching incredible human beings. But because I was first able to imagine this life, I had an idea for what it could possibly look like. And in order to imagine it, I had to expand the range of my attention points to encompass a version of reality where this was possible. I had to see the opportunities that were already low-hanging fruit surrounding me. So the idea here is that there's an infinite number of realities is indeed scientifically true, at least from the human perspective. And well, not infinite, but, pretty darn close. Because if there are 2 billion bits of data hitting us every second, we can only filter about 2,000 of those. So if we apply the mathematical formula to calculate the number of permutations from this subset and the total set, we end up with so many potential combinations. This is a number that's way too even large to try to say. I'm not even going to bother. The number of zeros here, I can't even count that high. And this is just the number of combinations for one instant in time. So imagine how many of these could happen in a day, a year, or your lifetime. This does give you a idea of what infinity could look like, even though this is a finite number. And all of this really does give us an awe-inspiring glimpse into the truth about our perception being subjective. Now let's move from the theoretical to the practical. How can being able to perceive more of reality benefit you? And since there are 2,000 attention points, doesn't that mean we're always going to be filtering out 99.999% of what's going on? Well, yes, it does. But the real benefit is that by becoming fluid in our perception, we are then able to actually have the capacity to perceive things that are most beneficial for our current trajectory in life. The things that will advance us towards our hopes, dreams, and desires. Oftentimes, we desire things, but then do not have the range of attention or capacity to notice them. Therefore, the universe is always placing us into situations that are going to stretch us, even though we may not notice. And sometimes we end up resisting these. So even though everything is happening for our highest good, we might have to undergo painful cycles of confusion over and over and over again. But let me tell you that these are completely unnecessary. And that if you understand how to actually broaden this, and you actually know how to enter into growth mindset and actually integrate the lessons that are being presented to you and to resolve them harmoniously, you can move through these things a lot faster, expand the range of your attention points, and basically come to a point where you can perceive the limitless number of possibilities already around you. And when that happens, then you can create from that place, and you can create limitlessness. You can make, money your friend, going from a reality where money is a scarce resource into one where you snap your fingers and you get exactly what you need in order to actualize your heart's desires. You're then able to become much more attractive to the type of people that you want in your life, whether that be through romantic partnerships, friendships, or collaborations. Also, your sense of well-being and possibilities of talents and skills that you can do increases immensely. I used to teach guitar lessons when I was younger, and I found that it was mostly mindset that was keeping people back. People who believed, I'll never be able to play the guitar. Well, they became a self-fulfilling prophecy, versus people that showed up, got excited, believed that no matter what age they were, they could learn something new. Those are the ones that tended to do the best. So in order to actually expand this range, we do need to resolve some of the things that exist at different density levels. And we're going to learn about density levels of our being, or our bodies, not just our physical, emotional, mental body, but we've actually got a lot more than that. We have a solar body, we have an oversoul or karmic body, we have a holographic body, and then we have an essential self. And when we start to work with these layers through exploring our inner planes, we're able to resolve the imbalances and expand the range of attention points. This is typically what people call healing, or what I prefer to call self-discovery and integration. Because healing has this connotation that we're trying to get back somewhere, whereas self-discovery is sort of this expansion and this resolution of the imbalances in our life. And it has a little bit more of a all-encompassing, a lot more of a, limitless and exciting connotation to it. Now, you might be able to use the word healing and like that. That's just me being a little bit picky. Regardless, the real way to apply this is something that, takes a little bit of practice. But the good news is that I've actually prepared a pay what you want workshop where you can watch this. So it's about 3 hours long in total, and it's me and a good friend of mine, Jade Sundari, putting this together when we're talking about activating your multidimensional self-healing capabilities in order to basically expand your range and to be able to see some of the limitless potential around you. So the link to that is in the description below. There are many systems out there in the world, and I've studied tons of them over the last 22 years. So I wanted to basically create a nice, concise, consolidated presentation of these and give you some practical tools to help you resolve any of these imbalances. And the other thing too that's cool about this is when you start to do this, you can actually start to heal yourself of physical ailments. You can start to resolve, emotional problems, and then your mindset expands where you go from seeing scarcity to seeing new possibilities. So if you're interested, I would highly recommend the workshop. You got nothing to lose. It's pay what you want. Yeah, I just wanted to, make sure that everybody had access to it, and at the same time that, I was being compensated for the time and effort it went to putting this together. So that is the practical side if you're willing to take the step now. Otherwise, continue watching the series because we're going to start to get into the really exciting stuff. The way that creation unfolds, our place, our role, our destiny as human beings. This is all coming up in this free YouTube series. And a video drops pretty much once every 2 weeks for the series, amongst the other content in this channel, which largely has to deal with self-development, human design, astrology, and current affairs. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you subscribe to the channel, like this video, and I will see you again soon. Take care.